In the realm of gaming, some products just have a poor vibe from the get-go, and it can be hard to understand why. For example, Torchlight 3 is not one of the most popular games out there. It's not like you went to Walmart today and some child was walking around saying, "Mom, Dad, can you buy me Torchlight fucking 3?" And then they said, "Did you just say fuck within the first 7 seconds of the YouTube video? Don't you know that gets Seer demonetized, you little shit?" And then the child says, "Actually, Dad, it was after 7 seconds, so the rule no longer applies." And then the dad became a baboon and killed everyone in the Walmart. What are you interrupting my playtime for? Oh, you want some more opinions about the best ARPG ever made, and you want me to play Torchlight 3, a mixed reviews product. Well, I'm not one to shrink from a challenge. I am up to the task. I will play this apparently unliked game with my head held high, as I am the truest gamer on the market today. So as we install the game, let's look on Google for opinions, because I can't make any of my own because I'm a shill fuck. Well, off to a good start as always. We have Max Schaefer, industry staple, was an integral person in creating Diablo 2, that game that no one has ever heard of or played, but still always like seeing him on a team. Additionally, the game was a retooled MMO. That always works. That has always led to the greatest creations known to man, because if I love anything, it's a single player experience ripe with customizable stuff only I can see and collect. Especially if it comes with a battle pass that I get for just being a being with a pulse. So far, so good. I don't even begin to see what's causing such a mixed roar out there. I'm not seeing why the game currently has only 51 players on Steam. It sounds pretty much like the successor to Torchlight 2 to me. Also, for the record, I really like Torchlight 2. I've already reviewed the game, in which I said it's probably not the best ARPG ever made, but it's really great in all regards, just being a solidly fun time that doesn't try to overdo anything. Good combat, good itemization, good graphics, good music, good lore. Like, it's an amazing template. But the game is now done installing, and it's time to see the evolution and to determine if Torchlight 3 could possibly be the best ARPG ever made. Alright, so let's take a look at these character selections, and what the fuck? Sharpshooter, fine, good, that's an idea that makes sense. Dusk Mage, that's fine, would have preferred Dawn or Brunch Mage myself, but I'll take what I can get. Forged? This is the character I will play. I don't care about anything else. Don't even care what it's fucking called. And then Curse Capped. Welcome to D&D circa 19 some year. I'm Gary Guy, and this is my new nerd fuck game. It's going to take over the world. It's going to be great to play when you're drunk and never otherwise. And I have some character classes rooted in fantasy for you to choose. Like, take the warrior, the rogue, the wizard, the Curse Captain. What's that? You want to know what that means? Well, I don't know what to say. It's a ghost with a cannon, you unintelligent posterior inhaler. Anyway, say hello to Freddy Fuckery. Also, the first thing I have dubious feelings about, but why is the multiplayer button on the left and the single player button on the right? This is just wrong even logically, brain dopamine satisfying wise. Single player represents one person, multiplayer represents more than one, so it's ascending order left to right. Unless we're in some other backwards countries, but that's not the case. I am in the freedom fields. I do not read right to left, but to me, this lends credence to the idea that this game was intended and was supposed to be multiplayer only, and it was just a patched up concept to toss in a single player mode, and they were just salty it wasn't the MMO it was supposed to be, so they just said, fuck it, put it on the right side. This is headcanon, so literally ignore me. I'm telling you nothing worthwhile. What I can tell you is that the game is trying to continue the plot started way back in Torchlight 1 with this big dragon Ordrak's heart artifact still being the strongest shit known to man. Despite having sorted all that out in the second game, it's just still a problem. More evildoers have it again. So it's called Arms. Where's my local train man? Yeah, I didn't elaborate, but Freddie Mercury is actually the Railmaster. That's what my girlfriends all call me, by the way. But in this case, we're talking about a literal train rail that fucking walks around with you and shoots people. So that's actually a great idea for an ARPG. Checkmark the good side of things. Otherwise, it's just a barbarian, so double checkmark, this is a perfect character class. But then it's customizable character time, and I get to bitch about this again. I'll take every opportunity to say that this is so pointless to dedicate dev time to in an ARPG. It's just this hangover from other games being popular with customizable avatars. But it barely matters for this genre. You can hardly see what you look like. Just let me go to the camp, pick the character, and begin the game. But now, what's the cut look like? Interestingly, though, is the Relic system, which I didn't even understand at the point at which I had to pick it, but it's basically like a shared skill tree that every class can have access to. There's 5 variations with different concepts and synergies, and that's a really cool idea. I like this overall, but without being an overly gigantic expert on the metas in this game, I am disappointed in the fact that there's obviously right and wrong choices for each character class, with a little nuance in thinking, well, this fire shit is mostly bad for my build, but it has this super helpful synergy that could help me in the long run. It's pretty clear cut and dry what you'll pick. Then I did take the fire one because I wanted to hit things with a hammer, and that just seemed right. I wasn't going to take that spider tree. What the? Then you get a choice of 3 pets, all of which have different passives, which is great. That's an interesting evolution over Torchlight 2, where it really didn't matter what pet you had as they all just served the same function. As you play, you rescue more pets from crates after boss fights, and honestly, there's just way too many. It's a menagerie, or after a certain point, I was sick of looking at this. They have a rarity, their effects are randomized, it's overkill. You can customize the pet's abilities, including auras, attacks, gear, granted skills, passives. I mean, it's like a mercenary in that other game that no one has ever played, but it's got a lot more going on, which is a good and bad thing. You know, customization is fun. But also, I can't really tell if the pet is good for much. It seems to be dying a lot, and I can't tell what damage it's doing. Maybe this relates to the difficulty, as I never go little bitch, I go massive bitch, which in this case is the level of ridiculous. In working English, the 5 difficulties are practice, normal, hard, painful, and ridiculous. There you go. That's all you're getting from me. Now, honestly, I'm not a fan of having this customizable. I am not a fan of having customizable difficulty like this in the beginning. I say keep players in the same place and design a really enjoyable campaign. Obviously, easier said than done, but with 5 choices, I have no idea what the devs thought the game should be like. And honestly, this has been one of the easiest ARPGs to play anyway in the series, even on the hardest setting. While there's occasionally fights where I'm scared and just need to play it safe, I did not die much at all, maybe 5 times total, and a few of those times because I forgot you can never pause the fucking game. Love that, another good feature. But let's get into the gameplay, which is comparable to a toddler punching a mattress because everything is so spongy, it's crazy. This wanes as you level, but for the first 15 hours or so of gameplay, I was just sitting on things forever, and that's so bad. It's the antithesis of what you want in an ARPG. This guy has the aforementioned ability to hit things with hammers, which is what I'm doing, but also use trains with guns for a builder-esque idea, so if that's badass, I wouldn't know. I like hitting things with oversized Acme hammers. And that's when I noticed the gear progression and just how it's one of those games. What's one of those games, you ask? It's the ones where there's practically nothing interesting about gear because it all reads pretty much the exact same, and you simply keep replacing stuff every time a higher level version of the same thing drops. Especially when you're finding the same orange text set items again and again and start wondering if there's only 5 sets in the entire game. So yeah, you're practically forced to pick up every new item that fits a slot for your characters you find them because they're almost guaranteed to be statistically gigantic compared to what you've currently been using. Things have way too much ass fat, too much pillow feeling. Why did I write that? What the fuck? Well, a new weapon will just double or even triple your output. That's the whole point. We'll return to gear thoughts as they become prudent, but let's get to some more general concepts of the moment-by-moment gameplay first. And we'll get to some positives about Torchlight 3 soon enough as well. Just start with a bit of molding. Am I right, kids? Fucking idiot. Okay, so yeah, the minimap / the map overlay suction a little bit because if you opt to keep it in the corner, it's very small. If you opt to put it in as an overlay, it's very bold and large, so it's harder to see what you're doing. And your third option is just to have nothing. Fuck you. So yeah, not fantastic for navigating, but the good / bad news is that navigating around is pretty boring anyway because they're practically copy-pasting the map over and over again, being like long pathways of branching spiderweb-esque designs, and 2/3 of the game is a pastel-colored brown or green, so essentially, who cares where you're going? And so that's what we have so far. Fred Merck walking around fairly slowly, hitting things way too many times to score a kill on boring, bland-colored locations, and when you do kill those things, you're given items that aren't fun to look at. But as if I could be any more salty about stupid stuff, the way in which items drop from the rumps of enemies is also annoying. It's hard to even describe exactly why it's bad, but things pop out sequentially, so you have to hang around for loot, which is weird, and then the beams are kind of bugged too, so half the time an item isn't even appearing on the screen unless you deliberately look for it, something that was excusable back when Diablo 1 came out, less so for a game made in the last 5 years. Also, pet peeve, but gold has one clump graphic, even if it's a single piece. I hate when this happens because you'll see a huge swamp of doubloons and it'll be 8 total, which is actually nothing, as potions are like 60 gold each and nothing else is remotely cheap, so yeah, good. And by the end of the campaign, the gold was spilling out for so long I thought it was just a bug, but nope, that's just how it does. And finally, the kicker, you have the smallest inventory in any ARPG I've ever seen. It's so remarkably tiny, even if it seems like it should be fine, I constantly had no room. And to make matters so much worse, you can't throw things on the ground directly. You have to hold D for fat fucking dick and slowly delete your items, and the time it takes depends on the rarity. So a gray item will just disappear with one press of D, but then legendaries, that's like a 2-second wait, and it's annoying that you have to do this like 12 times in a row. Of course, selling things is a button press away in town, but I didn't care because the gold value for selling things was incredibly low, so it wasn't exciting to go back and waste time doing that. But wait, make room for the other menus like the Battle Pass, where you get progression tiers for doing absolutely nothing interesting and get to clog the absolute shit out of your inventory. Seriously, you cannot take more than like 5 nodes on this without maxing out, as your reagent screen is also loaded up with garbage like fort schematics. What's the fort, you might ask? Well, it's a fortified building or strategic position, you dumb ass. Back to school with you. It's just a buildable town basically, which theoretically should be a very fun thing, but it's not. I genuinely shoved as much as I could near the waypoint and never built a single customizable item because why bother? The way to get art, decor, and the like like is through building materials, but do I really want to take time from playing the action role-playing game and instead click on trees and rocks and wait? If you have this in your game, you've made a mistake. Honestly, a click should suffice. I don't mind the concept of having mineable rocks or whackable trees or tuggable dicks, just have its effect occur immediately. Or if you have to do some kind of bot protection for a single player experience, then have it be a little mini game. Go to neilpets.com and rip off an idea. I don't know, I don't care. BioShock hacking terminals, anything that's a little more engaging. These games need speed, not a slow down, wait and hold the button, grab the materials as they slowly spiral onto your body, all for what? Building some kind of rug for a place you barely want to be in? And then for this fort, why couldn't it be simple things that make the game more fun? Why is there a log cutting station with wait times? Why is there a different respec table for every single class and I built the wrong one first and it doesn't have an error message, it just doesn't do anything? So it's a lack of intuitiveness, and it's just high time prime slime game design. A maritime pantomime paradigm. A fat fucking goose egg. Also in the fort is the luck tree. Move that L to the F, please. And at first I figured this was a fun idea until even after maxing it out, I felt like the benefits didn't work, or if they did, it was practically nothing, so why care? The idea is you sacrifice gear to the tree to increase your luck overall for future drops or whatnot, which by the way, if you hold D on this screen, it deletes your gear instead of sacrificing it. You have to hold right click, even though the indicator is the exact same thing and takes as long as it does to delete it. So yeah, bad. And when you max out the tree by giving it a bunch of legendary stuff, it gives you like 5% better luck with gear. So I was underwhelmed to say the least. So that's most of the surrounding details of combat and its rewards, but what about experience and skills? Well, I think skills are a decided positive for how they work, so that's good. A green check mark again. The max level is 60 and it means you get a sizable amount of skill points, and this works like past Torchlight games. You can invest into a specific skill 10 times, and at point thresholds you gain new enhancements on that skill. Plus there's no arbitrary requirements of leveling up to continue investing in something anymore. You can pump up the first skill all the way to 10 right away if you'd like. In addition to this, Torchlight 3 has a legendary skill equipment system, where as you collect legendary items, you gain that item's specific benefit, like making your auto attack shoot lightning bolts or cast a random spell from another relic class, and it banks them. So all the new characters you make can assign legendary powers from other character class uniques, making it advantageous to play several characters to make the most optimized build for another class. That's both intelligent design for replayability and building a unique character, so you know, that's a double thumbs up. But that now means I'm out of thumbs to raise, so please stop having good ideas now.
Thanks.
For these legendary powers, you can equip 3 of them at a given time at level 40 onwards. The issue with all this good skill variety and build choices is actually still the fact that the gameplay is boring. Half the time I'd get a new ability, I thought the game would finally open up, and that just my ass did. Everything is still thicker than Quaker Oats. But you want to know about the story now? Well, let me tell you, I don't remember a single % of the story of this game. It's that good. Really, it's completely by far the most bland throwaway plot in at least the Torchlight games, but I'd say even in almost every ARPG I've ever played. There's these 3 women, dastardly women always up to their usual schemes of being purple and shooting fucking blasts at me. Really beyond the mother figure talking to the daughter figures who comprise the act boss encounters, I don't think anyone else talks in cutscenes or has agency or matters. The final boss is Ordrak for some reason, you know, the guy who's the final boss of Torchlight 1, because why not? It's the only big bad we've ever had. This game isn't like Diablo, what are you fucking talking about? This cutscene is a literal nutsack. Look at it, what the fuck, man? And it blows up, and really no one thought that looked wrong? But towards the end of the experience, you do start blowing up screens with a little more haste. You feel like you're moving around decently well and you have enough power to have some fun. Now, how does the game get you to have fun after the final boss is defeated? Well, you get access to Will Smith, and he tells you about the endgame system of redoing dungeons you've done, but with modifiers up to a cap of supposedly 251. So you can start doing 251 random dungeons, of which a lot of consensus says that there's minimal difference between, say, like 20 and onwards, so it's insanely repetitive and not really fun to do. I did like 8 of these and was bored already, if you must know. Essentially, you get checkpoint every 4 stages you do in a row. If you ever die, you have to go back and do the whole checkpoint again. It's the same game, just drawn out forever with no plot, so kind of just the same game forever. I figured there was nothing more to see here. Sure, you had a modifier like, you know, enemies break your butt 50% more and you gain 50% more gold, but what do I care? Everything feels so samey. And unique monsters and champion varieties are not interesting because their attributes are just not obvious. They're basically spongier versions of the same stuff you've been killing the whole game. I guess I never mentioned enemy variety, so, you know, let's play a game. Okay, so I'm writing the script without directly referring to footage for everything, so off memory alone, I will try to tell you about the monsters. This isn't even a joke. You're like in my brain right now. I'm just gonna dump my thoughts onto the script and then recite what my dump thoughts were. All right, here we go. There's like goblins, so that's a 0 out of 10 for caring. Skeletons, so -1 out of 10. Purple void balls. Okay, yeah, purple void balls. Let's see. Robots, they're all like circular ball designs. There's rat, I think. Rat being, something like that. There's women, but they're just bosses. The spitter, yeah, there's a few of them in the game. That's the list. I can't recall anything else. I mean, is this a case of A, low enemy variety, or B, I'm a total chimpo? It's B, me, it's B. But you know what? For fun and to be a more thorough reviewer, I decided to go back through one more time on a normal difficulty character, and considering that I didn't have that much trouble on ridiculous difficulty, I turned on hardcore, because you know, why not? And you know what? The game's not really that good. The difficulty is pathetic now, and with added power with legendary effect bonuses, I had no trouble in my Cursed Captain playthrough, Dabu Dee Dabu, where I just walked around and shot things with a cannon and spawned more cannons and golden cannons. This is the class fantasy. It did inform me about a system that was interesting though, and it provides a good seg for us to talk about perhaps the most important thing the game got right, the combat loop. With the Railmaster, there's a system of endurance that's not really well explained. In fact, I still don't get really how it works, but essentially this gun symbol fills up for doing stuff and waiting, and when it's maxed out, your abilities do something extra. And usually it's really good, increases damage, the radius, the stun duration, all that sort of thing. At the same time, you get access to a particular skill for using your endurance charges, and then you want to apply defense down abilities before you use that skill, and then this, and then that, and then there's Relic power or runic power, something. I forget the name, it's really boring, but it's a meter, and that's kind of the point. There's a good rotation of all kinds of things that synergize with the class mechanics, and it makes the rotation not so easy or clear cut, which is a positive. I bet you didn't think I had anything positive to say about the game, but I do. And then playing Cursed Captain demonstrated that there's a different mechanic for each class, thematically representative of themselves. So like here you collect doubloons straight from the arseholes of enemies, plunder their booty, and then you pay the coins for benefits. And like with the Railmaster, you get to juggle the cost and effect of several things at the same time. I like this, and I assume if I could be bothered to start another character, I would notice they all have this kind of unique feeling. Maybe, I don't know for sure, maybe the rest just have mana or some shit. In general though, I wasn't lying, the gameplay is repetitive and boring in a lot of places despite having this unique and frankly enjoyable combat loop. And as just a major complaint on top of everything else, there's just a lot of bugs that make things weird. I didn't mention the several times I clipped into walls, or attacks wouldn't work, or the train I had following me would despawn, which sucked because being near the train increased my barbarian-esque whacking people damage. The UI bugs out a lot, highlighted targets just vanish, making combat with a lot of little goblins annoying. Boss health bars disappear, your town portal breaks and doesn't warp you around. Maps reset without asking you, which, okay, real quick, minor positive, there's a reset maps button, that's cool, more games should implement that. Now back to our regularly scheduled bitching. And even without bugs and without bland waves of combat, there's no endgame that's worth talking about. It's the same thing 251 times, and that character is then done as far as I can see. The best gear in the game is apparently enchanted stuff, and that system isn't even interesting to discuss. It's so basic, and I barely had the chance to even try it out. You need specific gear with sockets and slots, and I lost interest. I have to move on to my next ARPG. I've got shit to do. I gotta make a bagel and eat it. I've gotta make cereal and eat it. I've gotta take a shower and eat it. There's just not enough time to tedium my way through more and more of the same. Plus, there's another Torchlight to play, and it's not even just mixed now. It's actually dixed, and it's made by XD. You've gotta be shitting me. So yeah, what I do know is that this is definitely not the best ARPG ever made, because it just makes me want to play Torchlight 2. But we must look to the future, as there's no sense dilly-dallying. We have at least 50 more games to play, including Zelda 2 and Minecraft done, Diablo 2, rum and gun. That's right, that's the next target. Rum and fucking gun. Break out the alcohol and the gun. And don't shoot me with it, please.
See you next week. Oh, please don't come here. He's coming with the gun. He's gonna shoot me.